All right, so this is the third part to this series, things you think you know about React, number 3. All right, so first a little bit about me. My name is Justin. I've been programming since 2015. I'm currently a senior dev at Mastery Coding and a part-time instructor at New Camp, and it's my third time here? No, actually, it's my fourth time here. I did one before this. Whoops, so I got to change that. But you can find me on LinkedIn at Justin-Puns. I add everybody. I'll reply to all your messages. So don't be a stranger. Hit me up. All right. So before I get into this, let's go with an overview. What are we going to talk about? And for those of you who were here last time, you're probably already used to this like format I have. But I'm going to talk about the history of React. We're going to do a concept check. Okay. So or a knowledge check. We're going to talk about specifically the create React app and like what's in that. And then how do you keep up with everything? So I will be asking questions from time to time, and you can ask me questions as well. So let's get into it. History of React. Let's go over a quick summary. So again, if you're here last week, you've probably already seen this, but for those of you who haven't, hope you enjoy this. So why was React created? This will be the last time I ask this question here for this series. I'm going to put some more, but just curious to see if I get more answers so I can tweak this. So let's see. Start typing up in the chat. Open up my thing. Anyone want to answer? No one?
Maybe like an easier, can you hear me?
Yep.
Maybe like an easier framework, an easier programming language aside from what is normally typically given or what is commonly known.
So
an easier language.
Yeah, that's pretty close to, yeah, it's like an easier way of getting the same results. Yeah, totally. That could be a reason why. Let's see, we got, thank you, by the way. I can't see your name. What's your name?
Tiff. My name is Tiff.
All right, Tiff, thank you. All right, let's see. You got Chris, make things modular components. That's a big reason why. Yeah, Facebook virtual DOM. Yeah, virtual DOM is a thing too. That's the reason why they wanted things, why I got pushed out. React to user action dynamic. Scalable. Yeah, these are all really good answers, everybody. So yeah, you're all pretty much there. I mean, these are like my things that I gathered from the official React site. Reusable components is a big thing. First and foremost, it ensures design efficiency. It's each little part has its own bit of logic, and it lets things be consistent, easier. So you don't have to copy paste the same elements over and over again. So it's called React. And I think it's because of reactive updates. So that just means that whenever like a render happens or something changes in your state, it'll know to only change those certain nodes rather than updating your whole app, which makes it reactive. Learn once, write anywhere. Big thing too. So it can work on the client side, or it can work on server side. They really don't want to know, or actually they don't want to assume anything about the rest of your stack. They want you just to be able to drop it in anywhere. Like I could actually just take my React app and plug it into like some static site because they make it that easy. So those are a couple of reasons. Let's dive into the timeline now. And again, if you're here last week, you know about this, but I like talking about it. It's pretty cool. So it was first tried out, the concept of it, Jordan Walk in 2011. He created Facts.js. And it was a very early prototype, and you can still actually find it today. It's on his GitHub, and they tell you like immediately, do not use this for any project. This is just for like a concept check. And it was pretty good. He showed it to the rest of the React peoples. And they tried using it for ads in their timeline, but then at that point they remade it, and that's how React was born in 2012. So it was initially made for the newsfeed and for ads. And then they realized that they didn't have enough power in-house at the time at Facebook in 2012. So that's when they decided to make it open source in 2013. And at this point, Facebook introduces it at JSConf, which is a big deal because they're like, oh, Facebook uses it. They're huge. So you all can use it too. But at the time, it was still very, very minimal. We started to do stuff like create element. So there was no really JSX at that time. And then 2014, we have the tools now. So someone there was like, we really need to capitalize on giving these people. Whoops, can someone mute? Oh, someone asking a question. Whoops. Yeah, so someone there really wanted to capitalize on a good developer experience. So DX was now introduced here. So they added these tools. So that now we have the React Dev tools, the React Hot Loader, and Atom, the text editor, came out as well. So that all came out in 2014. And continuing on, we have in 2015, Stable React. And it was very cool because now Netflix and Airbnb adopted it. So it's not just Facebook. Now we have these other big companies using it now. And along with that, React Native came out, GraphQL and Redux were announced. What's really cool about this time too in 2015 is a lot of stuff changed. This is when React DOM split from like React. So now that they can have the React Native interface. So in 2015, that's the reason why we see React and React DOM in our in our package JSON. In 2016, we had these nice error code system things. So now we'll know how it broke, or not how, but why it would break instead of just telling us like why that the line is broken. It would tell us the reason for it. It's like you can't change state directly or something. That all came in 2016. And then in 2017 is a big thing, fiber. It's and then fragments were also introduced. But the fiber architecture allowed the DOM just to update a lot faster. And what was even better about that was that you didn't even have to change your code. Like it's all under the hood. You just add it in, you just update and you have it already. And now there's just so much more to even go into. In the past year alone, they've added so much stuff. I'm even thinking about doing a talk on just the new React 17 update because there's so much. But there's so much hooks, context, suspense, and many new additions have happened since. And you can see that React has come a long way in the past decade. So with that, is any of this history important? Not really, but it's really good to know the reasoning over memorizing the rules and syntax. It's just kind of fun when you can talk to someone else or be able to answer like, why do we have React DOM? It's like, well, here they had to split it because there wasn't only React for web. Now we have React for mobile. So they couldn't have React DOM because DOM is only a web thing. But anyways, don't let it overwhelm you if you can't memorize it all. It's just a fun thing to know. So now to the meat of this presentation. We had the React knowledge check. Let's test what we know. Okay, so first of all, why use the Create React app? When I was getting started, I used the Create React app too, but I was also really confused on why we used it. I didn't know why we had to use it even, but I saw that it was a very good step when starting. That's okay. Don't worry about getting the wrong answer. This is kind of just for fun if you want to guess at it. Give it like maybe 10 seconds. Yes, Chris is like, yeah, Chris, you're pretty much right on it. Set up really quick. That's like the biggest thing. Maybe you can squeeze out one more answer. Okay, then. That's all right. So yeah, Webpack. Yeah, yes, exactly. Webpack and Babel are a pain. So yeah, they wanted it so that you just didn't have to worry about all that stuff. So yes, so why use the Create React app? Thank you, Claire and Chris. So we got the latest JS features. You can get the latest JS features, provide amazing developer experience, and it optimizes your app for production with no configuration needed. Okay, this is aimed towards beginners. And all it takes to start it off is by running npx create react app, and then you put in the name of your app. Okay, so again, great answers. And just because it's aimed towards beginners doesn't mean that even an advanced person shouldn't use it. It's just a nice starting point, and you can always eject from it, which I'll explain later. So yeah, really cool stuff. If you just want to get something started, just use this. So what is it though? Like we know why now, but what is it? So we know that when we run it, we get something like this on the right-hand side. You just get this, it works out of the box, right? And then we also see the dependencies there, but it's super minimal and it's pre-configured set of tools, okay? So under the hood, there's Webpack and Babel and Jest even, okay? But we don't see that here in React and React DOM, okay? That's just a part of it. So we don't have to worry about it at all. Normally setting up Webpack and Babel is a pain. So this just takes off a lot of that and it makes it less intimidating for beginners. Also, you get the latest testing and development standards as well as getting it enforced with it. So you wouldn't have to set that up yourself. And also the main thing is like there's so many different versions of JavaScript, browsers handle in different ways. So having control over what syntax you use and the way you interface with the DOM is very important. So that way you can avoid getting special edge cases. So yes, and this was announced in 2016. And it was made by Dan Abramov himself. So the philosophy behind this, there's no configuration required. Okay, like so, just want it to work. You don't have to be able to. You don't. We don't have to input what kind of testing thing we want, what kind of transpiler. It just works. Oh, I put no configuration twice. There's no lock-in. Oopsies. Let me do that. Let me show you it directly from them, actually. So I just want to show you. So directly from the repositories, there's one dependency, no configuration required, and no lock-in. So instead of getting vendor locked into this create React app, we can leave it anytime we want to. But you cannot reverse it. Once you do it, it's there. But this is also a good time to bring up that everything I have here, I cite all the sources for each slide. So if you want to dive deeper into anything I'm saying here, maybe even fact check me, you can go in there and click it, which I'll share later. So, and then once you get started, I mean, they really just want you to get it going really quickly. The first thing that they have on their website even is just this thing. It's like focus on code, not build tools. So now that talking about the tools, let's go into it, right? So we have different things here, and these are just some of the tools that comes with the Create React app. Okay, and I'll explain this picture on the right in a bit, but we have a bundler, a dev server, and for testing, we have Jest, okay? So Webpack is like, what the heck is this, right? So it's the thing that lets us take in a bunch of different files and we define how we want these files to be used, and it, I guess, transpiles them or bundles them into just these neat, smaller files. So if we have like 5 different JavaScript or JSX files, it would compile or transpile it into one JS file, because browsers don't let you do importing and all that stuff. So it makes it in a way that all these different things can take them in, or browsers, I mean. Also for images, a lot of the time, it'll actually just optimize them for you too. So sometimes we kind of do this out of habit or bad habit, but you might just put in like a really large, like 1 megabyte, 2 megabyte picture, but your Webpack will actually optimize it a lot of the time, so that they don't come in at 2 megabytes. It's just like a couple kilobytes instead. And then we have the dev server as well, which is a big thing. Who here likes hot reloading? You know, whenever you make a change, it refreshes your thing. That's just amazing, right? Because, you know, a lot of us started off with static sites, right? So we had to make a change, hit save, go back to the screen, and then look at it again and do that whole thing again. So this is just really neat because once I save, it's up there. Don't let the picture on the right-hand side overwhelm you, but just know that whenever like a file is changed, this dev server knows how to handle the changes. So it'll go into the bundle and then modify it. So the browser is like, oh, only you changed there, so I don't even need to refresh my page. Okay, so it's really neat. If you want to dive into it, I put some more resources on it because that's just like own talk in general. But just know that we have Webpack for 2 things, the dev server and the bundler. And we have testing for Jest, which I won't really get into, but it's neat that it's already there. Continuing on, we got polyfills, a linter, and a transpiler with Babel. What's a polyfill? Some of you might be asking. A polyfill is what allows us to convert, I guess, or use newer code while being able to be friendly to like older browsers. So the polyfill is like, it fills in the parts that the old browsers couldn't do. So it's like a translator, I guess you can think of it that way. Linters are very, very important as well, because without the linter, we wouldn't get these neat error messages. It helps prevent, it shows us our syntax errors before we even build or transpile. So this is neat stuff where it's like, you can't set state directly, or in this case, you can't use the, let's see, actually, no, this looks pretty right to me. But linters will just tell us when we're doing things wrong in the typing aspect of it. And you can configure that in any way. But they give it to us already, so we don't have to worry about that. And then the transpiler, Babel. So this is something that I feel like a lot of beginners kind of like skip over because I did that too. But just know that this is the thing that actually translates our JSX into like normal JavaScript so that the browser can read. Okay, so and most of the time polyfills are in Babel as well. But for example, here we have the index.jsx, we have the hello tag, and then Babel will do its thing, and then it'll convert it into this thing, react.createElementP. None of us has to type this because we can rely on the transpiler to do that for us. Okay, so just think of the transpiler as like a translator. It converts it from one piece of code into another piece of code. Okay, and then from there, we can go into it. Oh yeah, I also mentioned this thing like, what if we need to change the build process? Okay, so then or I guess leave create React app. If we wanted to, we could just run this thing called yarn eject, or we can use npm run eject. And what that'll do is it'll spit out this thing on the right-hand side. And you can see here that all that stuff I said before, jest, polyfills, the webpack config, it's all now spat out so that you can modify it if you want now. But know that if you do this, it's a one-way process and you cannot go back. Okay, so I've actually personally never had to do this myself. Well, actually I did once, but I've never felt like I really needed to do it. And if you want to do it just to modify like one little tool, you're probably not moving in the right direction. I would do a heavy research before doing it. However, if you wanted to unpack it so that you wanted to learn about how React is built under the hood, that's a great reason to do it. So with that, I know it's a lot, but you'll still be able to use React without using this information. So with or without it, you can still use it, but it's neat to know it so that whenever you can know that when you use Create React App, you have the latest and greatest versions of Webpack, Babel, and JavaScript as well. And with that, I would like to talk about keeping up with everything. There's different ways to stay informed, and it's just as important as being able to research what's currently happening. So I like to read up on the news that's happening, like newer changes so we can anticipate it. For example, like suspense has been like hyped up for the past like 2 years, and I started using it for my project, like anticipating that it'd be added to the newer candidate, but and it kind of is, but I don't end up using it. But anyways, how do you all stay updated? I'd like to know. And if there's one here that I don't know about, I will give you credit and I'll add it onto this slide.
Normally Reddit and Twitter.
Yes, Reddit and Twitter is great. Yep, that's on my thing too. And then we also have Medium. Medium's a great one. Okay. Thank you for your participation. Well, I'm gonna hop into this next one. Dev.to newsletters. Yep, that's great. That's great. And you can take a screenshot of this one. I'll stay on this one for a bit. I often get asked to go back here. But also the link will be there for all of you to look at. But the React.js blog is a great one itself, because this is from like the actual React people themselves. You know, here I can see that, oh, today we're releasing React 17. You can see the no new features. So this is like really just a change under the hood. Like there's nothing new, but just know that it makes things better. And if you want to dive deeper, you get into it. I'm not going to read all this to you, but really, really cool stuff. We also have Twitter. If you follow the right people, Dan Abernoff is a pretty funny and interesting guy on there, I would say. He's one of the maintainers of the project. I think he started Redux as well. There's also Medium, which one of you said, and then daily.dev, dev.to, and Reddit. So Reddit sometimes like hit or miss for me, but it's pretty good. Sometimes I'll find some neat stuff there. Yeah, but these are all the ones that I use. If you think that I should add something here that's not, please let me know. I will give special attention here to daily.dev, okay, because it's my favorite thing to passively get news updates. What do I mean by that? If I make a new tab, it's just a Chrome plugin. I get all these different blogs. It's free too. So like, for example, and I can tailor it to what I like. Like I like React, I like web development, so it's going to give me a bunch of stuff like that. So for example, all you need to know of doc type HTML. Like, I never thought about why this thing is important. So now I have a 2-minute article on it, and I can read it later, or I can just move on with my day and move on to like the actual website. So dev.to, totally check it out. I'm sorry, not dev.to, sorry. Daily.dev, totally check it out. I highly recommend it. All right, and from there, here's an example of a new change and why it's important to stay up to date. I'm not going to read all this, but one of the new things that they did was that they worked with Babel directly now to rewrite the JSX transform. So now you can use JSX without importing React into your project. On each page, it'll slightly improve the bundle size, and number of concepts are reduced that you have to learn now in React because of it. So it's just really cool stuff. And again, like this one, React 17, they're really focusing on just optimization. So, and I would have never known that if I didn't read the React website blog. So, but here's my strategy. Again, if you're here last week, you know this, but same thing I got. So I just write down the stuff that I want to learn for later, since there's so much stuff that there is. So I want to learn about the React Profiler API, how to bake a pie, check myself if I'm drinking too much coffee. Maybe I had too much this morning, but then, and the React 17 candidate and all that. There's just so much. So I like to write them down and check them out later. And with that, congrats, everybody. We made it. And I hope it's inspired you all to dive deeper into each of your stacks. I had a lot of fun doing this. Probably I will do one more of this series before jumping into a new one. So if you have any suggestions on a topic, I would love to hear it. So unpacking the 17 update is something I'd like to talk about, like uncontrolled versus controlled components. React Fiber is its own thing as well. So yeah, just let me know. And with that, thank you, everybody. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them now and add me on LinkedIn if you can. Don't be a stranger. I reply to everybody.
Thank you, Justin. For anyone else, you guys have any questions for Justin? You feel free to ask him right now while he's here.
Hi, Justin. This is Claire. Excuse me.
Hey, Claire.
I just ate an egg. In terms of like bootstrapping a new Create React project, you showed us in the example like using NPX, and I think that means it's like the latest version of Create React app. But I've also seen devs doing like Yarn itself. Now you can just say like Yarn create and then space React app. And from my understanding, that's also a way to get the latest React app bootstrapper, but I'm not sure if I'm right.
Yeah. That's totally right. Yeah, if you don't indicate the version number, like you can actually create React app at the version number to get a different one, but if you don't include it, you will get the newest one. So you're totally right on that. So NPX is just like this method where it downloads everything, it runs extra scripts and configures your project, and then it deletes its stuff that it was used to make the bundle, or I mean the project configuration, if that makes sense.
So to use this though, you have to download globally Create React app. Is that correct?
No, you don't actually. That's the beauty of NPX. Like it'll only put it in that. It'll create like a new folder with all that stuff for you. Yeah, this isn't a global install.
So NPX goes out and fetches Create React app to start the.
Yeah, it gets all the stuff needed to create the Create React app. Like one time downloads it and then creates that folder for you. On the other hand, though, if you have Yarn, what it'll do is it'll take all that stuff and cache it, so that it doesn't have to always fetch it all the time. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
NPX
like with Yarn and Create React app, like you have to install like on your computer something called Create React app and then run it, right? Like a.
No, you wouldn't need to actually. Yeah. No. That's what NPX is for. So like regardless if you have like the other stuff, the other packages, it'll just fetch it all for you and put it in. So you don't need to do a global install.
So NPX is like the recommended way to do it to stay up to date.
Yeah. If you want to upgrade your app too, you can use the Yarn upgrade, or I don't know how to do it with NPM. Actually, I use Yarn, but you can use the Yarn upgrade command as well.
And we can use Yarn no problem, even if we start it with NPX?
Yes. Yes, yeah, pretty much. It'll give you a little warning if you have like a package lock, but it's really easy to switch from one to the other. You shouldn't do it often though. Like you should just stick to one from the beginning to reduce like errors and all that. And if you're working on a project with somebody else, if you're using Yarn, they should use Yarn too. If you're using NPM, they should use NPM too, because the stuff will get mixed up if you both are tossing it around like that. Yeah, I hope that helped you.
Thanks, Justin.
Sweet. Okay, so let's see here. Andrew. Yes, I understand the concept. Yep. Okay, yeah, so I think managing state is a good one to go over. It seems like Redux is a popular topic too. That's a good one. The pie. I kind of want to learn how to make a coconut cream pie. I used to watch a show called iCarly growing up, and they had, I don't know, they just kept talking about this coconut cream pie. It's always been in my head, so I want to make that. And if not that, probably I like pecan pies, actually. Is that weird? I like pecan pies. I want to learn how to make that. Thanks for asking. Well, all right. I believe.
Wait, Justin, one more quick question.
Mm-hmm.
What's
Yeah, sure.
Fiber? You mentioned that in passing.
Say it again.
What's React Fiber?
Oh, yes. Okay, so it's essentially just this thing that lets React know how to handle a change better. So, for example, if each change is put on a queue, like whenever you change the state, okay, and there's only one controller that lets things update, and it'll update one at a time. So it allows you to set priorities to certain changes, so that it can be resolved in that order. But just know that, I can give a whole thing on it, but just know that it makes things faster by allowing the React DOM to know what specifically has changed, so it knows not to re-render a whole element when it can just render a certain section of it. So for example, if I have a list of cars and I add a car to the list, it'll know not to re-render that whole list. It'll just know that, oh, I'm only adding in one element here, so I'm just going to insert that there. And with Fiber, it lets you do that very well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and actually Fiber is something you can't even touch. You can't touch that API. It's all under the hood. And I don't think anyone's really attempted to even modify it because it just works so well. There are a lot of instances where you use it and you don't even realize it. Like when you use key, when you map over elements, that is a key thing. That is one of the biggest reasons why we use it, because to take advantage of Fiber. Yeah, which I talked about in my first one. But yeah. Anyone have any more questions?
Going once, going twice.
All right.
Cool. Awesome. Well, that's amazing, everyone. Thank you once again. And thank you, Justin, for hosting another good workshop with us.